Our first knitting project today will be learning how to knit with a cardboard tube. You will need yarn, a cardboard tube, tape, scissors, and 4 popsicle sticks or skewers or disposable chopsticks. To begin, tape the chopsticks to the cardboard tube. Make sure that they are evenly spaced and stick out only a couple of inches from the top of the tube. If your chopsticks or popsicle sticks are too long, you can always cut or break them to be the proper size for your cardboard tube. Be sure to tape them down firmly so they don't move once you start using them. Once that's done, take your yarn and lead it into the top of your tube. Gently hold the tail that sticks out. This will be done with your left hand. Then, wrap the yarn clockwise around one of the sticks, and then repeat for the other 3. While you're doing this, make sure that the yarn is not too tight or too loose. You'll want it nice and firm. Then, lay the yarn across one stick at a time. Move the bottom loop up and over the top of the stick, leaving a new loop in its place. Gently tug both ends of the yarn to tighten it. You'll want to work pretty slowly so that the yarn doesn't slip off the top of the sticks. And be sure to keep tightening the yarn as you go. As you work, you'll see the knitting begin to take form in the center of the tube. It will kind of look like a spider web at first. As you go, you will get more and more comfortable with the process of knitting with a cardboard tube. You could even start to multitask eventually and listen to an audiobook or watch TV while you knit. You can make this knitting project as long as you would like. It could be short for a bookmark or a bracelet, or longer for a belt or a scarf, or somewhere in the middle for something like a toy snake. The possibilities are endless. Once it's done, it's ready for you to tie off and finish. First, cut the yarn so that you have about 6 inches coming out of the top of your cardboard tube. Then, once that's cut, you're going to take the end of the yarn and push it up through the bottom of one of the loops on a wooden stick. After you pull it through, you'll pull the loop off all the way and tug it gently to tighten it up. Then you'll just repeat that for the other 3 loops. Be sure to do this part carefully so that you don't pull off any of the loops too soon. Once that has been done, pull your project out of the tube and pull gently to tighten both ends. You can also secure both ends by tying a knot or 2 to keep it extra sturdy. Now, all that's left for you to do is to trim up the ends if they need it, and then your project is finally complete. The best part of this project is that you can keep using the loom that you built to make more and more of these fun knitted projects. Our next knitting project is to use a cardboard circle loom for knitted friendship bracelets. For this project, you will need 1 cardboard circle, 7 strands of yarn, a pencil, a ruler, and a pair of scissors. Setting up your cardboard loom will be easy. All you need to do is use your ruler and a pencil to trace out 8 equal sections. You'll do this by tracing a line down the middle one way and then in the opposite way. And then all you have to do is split those sections in half, and you should have 8 equal parts. It's okay if this isn't perfect. It doesn't have to be exact. Once that's all traced out, it's time to take your scissors and cut about 1 or 2 inches down each line on the loom. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect, just don't go all the way to the center. After you've done all that, use the scissors to make a hole in the center of the loom. An adult should probably help out with this part, since scissors can be pretty sharp. Now that your loom is finally ready, it's time to start getting your yarn ready. You'll want to make sure that you have 7 strands of yarn total. They can be any color you want, but you need 7 strands, no more, no less. You'll want to tie a knot at the end of your yarn bundle. Each strand of yarn should be about 3 feet long. Once one end of your yarn is knotted, you'll want to bundle the other end of your yarn and use your pencil to gently poke it through the hole in the loom. This can be kind of tricky to do, so feel free to take your time. Once you do get it all the way through, you'll pull it until the knot pokes the very back of that loom. Be sure not to pull it all the way through. Then you'll carefully pull each strand of yarn through each slot in the cardboard loom. Only one piece of yarn will go into each slot, but one will remain empty. If you're using different colors, it doesn't matter what order the strands get placed, the process will mix it up for you. Like I said earlier, one slot will remain empty, and you'll want to make sure that slot is facing you the whole time. You'll count 3 strands of yarn over, and then move the 3rd strand of yarn into that empty slot. You will rotate the loom again so that the empty slot is still facing you, and then you'll just repeat the last step. Count 3 over, and move that 3rd strand of yarn into the empty slot. You'll continue doing this until your project is completely done. You will want to make sure that your yarn doesn't get too tangled during this process. The longer your yarn is, the more likely it is to get tangled up. As you work, you'll be able to see the bracelet begin to form through the hole in the loom. Make sure while you work that your yarn is not being pulled too tightly or kept too loose. This will create the perfect bracelet. And just like the last project, this process will get easier and easier and smoother as you go. Maybe eventually you'll be able to video chat with a friend while you work or listen to music. Keep an eye on the length as you work, and once it is as long as you want it to be, you can get ready to start casting off and finalizing your project. To do this, begin by taking each strand of yarn out of the loom. You'll want to do this carefully so that you don't accidentally harm the yarn on its way out, and then you'll just pull the bracelet straight out through the center. Once that's done, all that's left to do is to trim off the excess yarn from either end. On the working end, you'll want to form a nice tight knot to secure your work. And then your project is complete. This is another project where you can reuse the loom that you created, so you can make as many of these beautiful bracelets as you want. And our final knitting project of the day is finger knitting. For this project, you will only need yarn, scissors, and your fingers. You'll begin by clamping the yarn between your thumb and your forefinger, not too tightly, and then bring the yarn around in a figure 8 around your other fingers. You're basically just going under and over every finger. And when you reach your pinky, you'll come back around the opposite way so that each finger will have 2 loops of yarn. Once that's done, you'll start at your forefinger and pull the bottom lip of yarn up and over the top of your finger. Then you'll pull the end of the yarn to tighten it up, and then you'll just repeat that for each finger. You'll want to go slowly and carefully so that the yarn loops don't fall off of your fingers, and make sure that the yarn is nice and tight, but not too tight. Once you have that first row complete, you'll just take the long strand of yarn connecting to the yarn ball and go back over and under all of your fingers so that they each have 2 loops again. And then you'll just repeat the previous steps. As you continue adding on to your project, you'll want to remember to continually push the yarn down your fingers so that the loops don't fall off. You won't want them at the very bottom of your fingers, but they shouldn't be at the very top either. It is important to keep in mind that finger knitting is a hard project to start and stop without finishing, so you'll want to be sure to leave yourself plenty of time to complete your desired project so that you don't accidentally lose any progress. Another good thing to keep in mind is that you don't always have to use 4 fingers when you finger knit. You could use just 2 or 3 for a thinner project. As you get closer to getting to the length you desire for this project, you're ready to start casting off and finalizing the project. To cast off, you'll start with your forefinger. You'll bring the loop up and over to your middle finger, and then from your middle finger, you'll take the bottom loop up and over, just like you were doing before. And then with the remaining loop, you'll just bring it right on over to your ring finger. And then you'll keep doing that process until only your pinky is left. Then you'll just bring the final loop up off of your pinky, but you'll want to hold on to it because you still have one more step to do. You'll cut the yarn from the yarn ball, and then you'll bring the end of the yarn through the pinky loop. Once you get it through, you'll want to pull it nice and tight, and then you can reach over and pull the other end tight too. And then your final knitting project will finally be ready. Great work!